So I have a lot of questions from people who have diagnoses of scoliosis and want to know if they can fix scoliosis. Now, generally, scoliosis can be broken down into two types. One is congenital scoliosis, which is a lateral curve in the lower spine and then usually an opposite lateral curve in the upper spine. This is scoliosis that we're born with. Now, there's a very good treatment technique for congenital scoliosis called the Schroth method. And so you can seek out a Schroth method practitioner if you have congenital scoliosis and want to start correcting some of that. So you can certainly correct a lot of the forces that are acting on your spine with congenital scoliosis that will either stop or even reverse the curvature deepening. So I would encourage you to seek out that type of practitioner. The other scoliosis is called functional scoliosis, and that usually leads to just a single C curve in the spine, not a double C curve, although it can lead to a double C curve too. All right, so functional scoliosis is basically how it sounds. Some way that you are using your body is causing the lateral curvature in your spine. And if you don't fix why that's happening, that lateral curvature will continue to deepen more and more and more, and you'll learn to compensate for it more and more and more, which will lead to that lateral curve. So this can easily be corrected and quickly because usually a lateral curve in the lower spine is due to some problem. In 80 to 90% of the cases, some problem in the same side leg that is leading to this. I call this a side bending problem. And then in 10 to 20% of the cases, there is a problem that's occurring in the opposite leg that is leading to this lateral curve or side bending problem. And I've made this video to help you see which side of the body the problem is occurring on that's leading to the lateral curve or the functional scoliosis or the side bending problem, as I call it. So as you can imagine, a functional scoliosis can eventually, all the nerves of the sciatic nerve are coming from the lumbar spine and the pelvis here. And so if you have a lateral curvature like this, it will naturally compress those nerve roots and can potentially create sciatic pain. It can also cause SI joint pain. It can cause chronic hip issues and so forth. So fixing of functional scoliosis is, fortunately, fairly simple once you know which side of the body the problem is on. Most of my books and programs that deal with the lower body or back pain and so forth, you'll notice that most of the exercises are unilateral in nature. I have you working out one side of the body and the other. And the reason that happens is because it's important for you to pay attention to where these asymmetries are in your bodies. Because the functional scoliosis is showing us or telling us that there's an asymmetrical use in your body in some way. And that asymmetrical use could be in how you're walking, how you're bending, how you're sitting, and it can set up problems like asymmetrical tightness or weakness in the body that then contributes to deepening the functional scoliosis. So that's why my programs have all of these unilateral exercises, is because I'm trying to get you to pay attention to where these asymmetries are and fix those. It's not important to just do an exercise on both sides to fix your pain. You have to pay attention to how you're doing the exercise on both sides. A lot of people aren't used to thinking that way, and that's where they're running into problems. So I hope that explains the difference between congenital scoliosis, which is a S curve, and a functional scoliosis, which is typically just a C curve. Now, fixing these asymmetries can also help with congenital scoliosis. I'm going to pause here to ask you to please subscribe, like, and share this video with others who might be experiencing unilateral back pain, sciatic pain, which is usually due to a functional scoliotic problem. Thanks. So it's important to understand that even if you have a congenital scoliosis, the S-curve kind, that the asymmetries that have been created in your lower body system are still contributing to even those curves too. And so I've helped a lot of people with congenital scoliosis either slow down the curvature progression or reverse it by fixing the asymmetries that are occurring in their lower body system as well. So just because it's congenital doesn't mean you're doomed to have the scoliosis, continue developing deeper and deeper curves for the rest of your life. You have to understand that your body is compensating for those curves in some way. And so if you can simply identify how it's compensating and reverse those problems, then you can start slowing down the progression of that curvature, or in some cases even reverse it. So it's also important to understand that with congenital scoliosis, the S-curve kind, what often happens is that there develops a rib hump in the rib cage, and so one of the shoulder blades then is thrown off because the shoulder blade is resting on the rib cage. When a rib hump occurs, it makes it more difficult for that shoulder blade to function correctly. So congenital scoliosis can even lead to unilateral shoulder pain, neck pain, headaches, radicular symptoms down the arm, and so forth. So again, a lot of these things can be corrected, but you have to understand how it's all playing out in the body in the first place. And one more thing I want to say about this is that when you have an x-ray taken of your spine, the radiologist isn't usually discerning between a congenital scoliosis or a functional scoliosis, because the medical term for scoliosis is lateral curve. So they are not saying this person has a congenital scoliosis whereas another person has a functional scoliosis. They're just reporting that they have scoliosis. And so that goes in the report to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh, you've got scoliosis. Well, what most people are assuming is that it's a congenital scoliosis, the S-curve kind, and where it actually is likely that it's a functional scoliosis. Most people have a functional scoliosis because most people use their bodies asymmetrically. And so they develop these side bending patterns that then create unilateral back or SI joint or sciatic pain and so forth. So that's an important point to remember, is that just because you've been told you have scoliosis doesn't mean that it's the congenital kind. In fact, the doctor may not even know what kind of scoliosis you have. They may not even be aware that there is a congenital scoliosis as opposed to a functional scoliosis. So try not to jump to conclusions about the type of scoliosis you have because some radiology report says that you have scoliosis. You still don't know which type of scoliosis you have. And there's a lot that can be done for both of those. I hope that helps.